Welcome to Mika's amazing Autism Awareness Acceptance April thing. If you weren't already aware, April 2nd is International Autism Awareness Day. And that means that autistic creators and businesses across the land get to fight against harmful neurotypical ran organisations who will inevitably pop up to speak for the autistic community. So if you want to do something to mark the occasion, let it not be lighting it up blue. Ignore that, that's always there. But to listen to autistic people, to support autistic artists, creators and businesses, and learn how to be a better ally to the autistic people in your life. But I know blue lighting is easy and that sounds like work. So here I am, making it easier for you. I've created a series of videos designed to highlight autistic voices speaking on a number of topics. So all you have to do is grab your Senna brew, sit back and listen. The UN General Assembly voted to designate April 2nd as Autism Awareness Day in 2007. Since then, something that is often discussed among autistic people is how much emphasis should be placed on awareness and how much on acceptance. The history of autism awareness, research and intervention shows that when a society has awareness of a thing without understanding or acceptance, it can easily lead to fear, judgment and unreasonable responses. This has been evident throughout history. Every time a majority group meets a minority they fail to understand and therefore fail to empathise with. This lack of empathy, understanding and acceptance leads to harm and abuse towards autistic people, which can, way too often, be fatal. And so, when Autism Awareness Day, week, month rolls around again, and autistic people have to watch as more attention is given to those who are trying to figure out ways to ensure that autistic people aren't born in the future, rather than ways to improve the lives of the autistic people who do and will continue to exist. Is it any wonder why some autistic people feel the need to take to social media just so that some autistic voices can be heard? I am one autistic person with one perspective and a highly bespoke autistic experience. And that's why I've invited several other autistic creators to give their thoughts on some key issues surrounding autism awareness. But first, before we begin, I'm Mika and I usually make video essays about politics, philosophy and neurodiversity, all from a leftist autistic perspective. So if that sounds like something that you would be keen on, then do subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of when I upload. I also have a Patreon and a Ko-fi account linked in the description if you would like to support the channel more directly. So, with no further ado, I asked around a dozen or so autistic creators if they could answer some questions about autism awareness and some wider issues. Thank you to everyone who was able to participate. Today's subject is autism awareness itself. What large-scale awareness campaign could states or corporations do that you think would be actually useful to autistic people?
An annual Autism or Neurodiverse Pride Day that celebrates everything great about being autistic and neurodiverse, and also takes into consideration the diversity of people on the spectrum.
Well, as an anarchist, I don't think any, because I don't think corporate or state action would can ultimately do good. If we're talking about, in the short term, pretty easy in the United States, universal healthcare, just complete decommodification of healthcare would be great. You could also decommodify housing and other basic necessities, and you're already well on your way to socialism by that point. But something really basic would just be universal healthcare, which includes prescriptions and mental health care. Radically change the DSM, and maybe not medicalized disability. I think schools could also do a lot. Again, for me, a lot of these can't happen on their own. They happen with a fundamental transformation in society. So other than things like Medicare for All, there isn't really anything short of, socialist or a commodityless form of socialist revolution to really do it.
So, awareness campaigns that could actually be useful. This is really tough because while awareness is definitely important, I think generally speaking, things that rely on individuals just learning certain things as a solution obviously isn't going to be super effective. So I guess the awareness campaign would maybe have to be targeting people who actually held power and making pressure to change policy, hiring practices, and things like that. So it would have to be something that was really pushing change at the top and not just like, hey, everyone individually learn this so you understand this. I mean, that's useful, but like only marginally. And I think that happens through all these other things, right? Like if hiring practices or policies change, like people will become more aware just because it's being discussed publicly. So I don't think focusing purely on awareness to individuals is generally very useful.
So like when it comes to awareness, I don't think that people are actually aware of anything. I don't think that Autism Speaks has, like, for instance, has ever made anybody really aware of what autism really is, especially because Autism Speaks very often, and a lot of those people involved with that will take the very, very narrow definitions, basically the stereotypical, like most of those people won't look at me and won't consider me autistic. I think that really autism awareness that would be super helpful would be reaching out to people who are underdiagnosed. So like, women, I'm sure other like gender minorities, people who aren't cis men. I'm sure that lots of like, people of color, poor people who can't afford to go to the doctor, in countries where, you need to be able to afford to do that. I think that those people, even just really hearing what it can be in different people like themselves, so that they can, if it rings true to them, take action on that. I think that that would be a really big thing. I went the longest time, my dad was diagnosed and other people in my family were, other men and boys, and I was just like, oh, well, I could be, but I can be kind of charismatic, I can act. And then I learned about masking and I was like, then that's absolutely me. So I think something that would actually be useful to people who don't know they're autistic but are autistic would be better awareness of how it can look in different people. Not just the stereotype of like, the young white boy who likes trains, which they are valid. Love my young white boy autistics who love trains, but like it can show itself in so many different ways.
Which is your favorite autism advocacy group or project?
Probably the Autism Self-Advocacy Network. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't want ableds talking for me.
The Autistic Self-Advocacy Network is an autistic-run advocacy organisation for the inclusion of autistic people in decisions which affect them. I also want to take this opportunity to showcase Black and ND, a crowdsourced fund aimed at supporting young Black neurodivergent people through the assessment processes and beyond. All you need to support is linked below. What everyday small acts of acceptance do you appreciate most from the people in your lives? Not shaming me into eating or drinking things that I don't want to. Still inviting me to things even though I might turn most of your offers down. Not getting angry with me if it takes me too long to reply. And accepting that I'm telling the truth if I say something is painful or uncomfortable. That sounds like it's basic, but it really isn't.
I think that when people don't question it or don't make a big deal out of things, so like we have a bunch of pans in drawers, and like they kept smashing up against each other when you tried to grab one. It was so loud and it was bothering me, and I said something about that, and then my mom got these things that like, go on the pan so that they kind of muffle the noises, and she didn't make it a big thing. She was like, I know that you have your thing where you get annoyed with the thing, so I got the thing. Like, no, it was just there one day, and I was like, oh, and these like muffle the sound. Like, great. thanks, you know?
I guess it's little things like when you do like a weird reaction, or if I'm losing focus and getting in pain or anything, getting a little reminder of to go take it easy, to not beat myself up. So it's kind of like these little shows of compassion that are just a reminder to not be hard on myself. Those always really mean a lot, especially when it's a moment where it'd be understandable for the other person to not get what's going on, or that maybe I'm acting in a way that could be frustrating. So
Don't use ableist language, and don't denigrate people on their perceived lack of intelligence. Just so small. Oh yeah, also when professors are making their syllabi, make sure that there are ebook forms of your books. Oh yeah, and ebooks with single pages and with highlightable text.
If you were diagnosed late, why do you think that is?
I was diagnosed late because no one believed that I was on the spectrum. They focused on everything that I could do well, and the things that I could do well just so happened to be the opposite of the stereotypical autistic traits. So just because I had great eye contact and good body language and could form complex sentences, I was not deemed to be on the spectrum. Just because I'm confident and I'm proactive, I'm action orientated, and I enjoy meeting new people and making friends, I just wasn't deemed to be on the spectrum. So in a nutshell, I was diagnosed late because I don't fit into the stereotype of what autism is or what healthcare professionals think autism is. But autism comes in many different shapes and sizes and looks different for different people. Moving forward, society, especially healthcare professionals, need to understand that and take that into consideration when someone comes to them with a concern that they may be on the spectrum.
Well, I mean, yeah, my mom literally told the doctor, asked him about, at the time, Asperger's in the 90s, and he said it was a boys thing. I didn't know I was autistic, but I definitely knew I was different, but I tried to hide that. And I was able to hide that. And acting was a special interest of mine, so acting, I worked really hard on it, especially things like cadence. And for a long time I was just difficult and stuff like that. And then when I got older, I heard things like autistic people aren't capable of empathy, and there are kinds of empathy. if I'm not sure what the person's feeling, then how am I gonna feel it? But if I know or I can understand what they're feeling, then I'll feel it, or I can understand what that feeling is like. So there's that. And then the last thing was me thinking, well, I'm not constantly awkward, or I can play my awkwardness off as I'm a sitcom character or something, which was kind of that's kind of my masking strategy. Or sometimes I can kind of be charismatic, so therefore I can't be. And then I learned about masking, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
'Cause I was made in the 80s. I'm an elder millennial, you see. Even trained professionals at the time thought that Asperger's syndrome, as it was then, was a thing for boys. My parents just thought I was shy, and I was an only child who worked really hard at fitting in at school. Later, my mum was busy with other things, so didn't quite notice how much I was struggling in my teens. So just really a mix of working very hard academically, trying my best to mask, and basically being left to my own devices for most of the time. Thank you so much for watching this special video on autism acceptance. I will be getting back to the video essays next month, so don't worry, academia fans. Please follow and subscribe to me and all the creators you've seen today. Everything you need to do so is linked in the description. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time. This video is only possible thanks to the continued support of my patrons. If you enjoy my content, please consider signing up to become a patron for early releases, resources, and updates. Thank you to all who have already. It really means the world.